Councilor, have you seated? Did we forget the pads this morning?
Yeah.
Young, have you seated? We have more pens than we need, but that's all right. Okay, state ready to call its next witness.
Yes, this time the state calls Koy Eam.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Mr. Eam, good morning. What is your name?
My name is Koy Eam, Koy Eam.
And Mr. Eam, is Melanie Eam your daughter?
Yes.
And is she the individual at the table over there?
Yes.
And at the time back in November of 2016, did she drive a white Toyota Corolla?
Yes, that's correct.
And in pictures 99 that you see up the screen, as well as 100 and 103, was that Ms. Eam's car?
Yes, that's correct.
And in regards to Ms. Eam's phone, do you remember her having a phone number 561-517-3237?
I think it's,
Okay, you think that's it?
yes.
And do you remember her phone looking like State's Exhibit 89? And I'll show you a picture and you can see the pink. But does that look like the phone that your daughter had?
Yes, I think that it is.
Now, I want to talk to you about November 16th, 2016. Was your daughter in November of 2016, was she in a relationship with James Berry?
Yes.
Was that her boyfriend?
Yes.
On November 16th, did you and your wife see Melanie at your home before 11 o'clock p.m.?
That's correct, yes.
Did you and your wife then go for a walk?
Yes.
When you returned home for the walk, was your daughter, Miss Eam, home?
No.
At some point after your walk, did you take a shower that night?
Correct.
Did you hear some sort of pounding on your door when you were taking a shower?
I thought I heard something.
And when you got out of the shower and went outside, did you see a white car leaving?
I thought I see something, but it's before it, yes. I might see something.
But you,
Excuse me, I didn't hear.
Could you repeat that, please?
Yes, I might see some white out front.
and the white car that you saw out front, was that car going fast?
Pretty much, it's, yeah, pretty much.
Now, at that point, did your daughter, after the shower and after that point, did your daughter return home? Did
No.
she come back?
No.
Did you and your wife try to call her?
Correct.
And did your wife go over to Miss Berry's home to try to find out?
Correct.
Did you speak with the police that night or into the morning?
It's not me, it's my wife.
Okay.
I home. Yes.
At some point, did the police come to your home and speak to you?
Yes, correct.
When the police spoke to you, did you say that you were concerned for your daughter, where she was?
Yes, correct.
Did you also tell them that you had relatives relatives in Maryland.
Yes, really.
And did your daughter, Miss Eam, did she play video games?
Yes, she did.
And did you know enough about what type of video games that she played, or just that she played video games?
No, I don't. Yes.
All right, cross examine. All right, sir, you may step down. Thank you. Ms. Cobb, are you okay releasing Sean?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Thank you very much for your assistance.
State roll call, sex witness.
Yes, sir. This is not a mistake to call Detective Jeffrey Cunningham.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Good morning, sir. Morning, sir. Please take a moment and turn and introduce yourself to the jury and spell your full name for the record. It is Jeff Cunningham, Jeffunninghamgham. And Mr. Cunningham, or Detective Cunningham, how are you currently employed? I'm employed by the Columbia County Sheriff's Office. In what capacity? I'm a detective with the Special Investigations Division Computer Crimes Unit. All right. Tell us what your duties and responsibilities are as a detective, as you just articulated. Within computer crimes, I am specialized in digital forensics. And break that down for us. Tell us exactly what it is that you do. Basically, downloading data from devices, computers, cell phones, things of that nature. All right. If you could please give us an outline of your background and training experience that's relevant to your job.
Judge, if I may, I'm sorry to interrupt. Without waiving any prior objections, we have no problem with stipulating as to his expertises and or the result of his work to be presented.
All right, come up just a moment.
All right, sir, if you would please continue and outline for us your background training experience.
Training experience that is directly in relation to digital forensics. Starting from the beginning. On October 2016, I took a Cellbrite Certified Mobile Examiner certification, which is the certification portion of the training for Cellbrite Certified Physical Analyst, which I took in April of 2016. Cellbrite Certified Logical Operator, which also was taken in April of 2016. Cellbrite Mobile Forensics Fundamentals, which I tested out of in June 2016. And I took my Cellbrite Certified Mobile Examiner certification in October of 2016. Beyond that, I have taken NCASE 120, which is a program used for computer forensics. That was done up in Dulles, Virginia in February of 2017. I took the second class in that, which is NCASE 210, which is building an investigation with NCASE, and that was also in Dulles, Virginia in April of 2017. And most recently, I've taken IASIS Basic Computer Forensic Examiner course in Orlando, Florida, which is a tremendously grueling certification process that takes about, I'm in the latter half of the certification process now, which is about 6 months of going through stuff for it.
And do you have a background in forensics even prior to your work in the Sheriff's Office? In other words, you work in some type of technical aspect prior to getting into computer forensics?
No, sir, I did not.
All right. And what is it, you told us that you download digital devices. What does that include? Is that just computers or?
Computers, cell phones, thumb drives, SIM cards from cell phones, SD cards from cell phones, DVR devices, pretty much anything digitally related.
Okay. And you use a term called Cellbrite. What is Cellbrite?
Cellbrite is a company that their whole bread and butter for the most part is gathering data from cellular devices. So that includes Apple phones, Android phones, and the like.
And how is it that a cell-route extraction works essentially?
Basically, it depends on what kind of extraction you're doing, but at the most basic is what's called a logical download, and at least for Androids. And that is basically where the program asks very nicely, you hook up the device to the program, and it asks the phone very nicely to gather this data. So just like if you were thumbing through it, it would give you that data. So the text messages, some chats, not everything, but some chat stuff, photos, videos, and the like.
So the logical, would it be accurate to say the logical extraction essentially gives you what the user could look at on the phone themselves?
Exactly.
All right, and is that different? Is there a term that's different from a logical extraction or a physical extraction?
Yes, there is. Physical extraction is, at its most base, a bit-for-bit copy of the chip that's on the device. So everything that's there, from the very first bit to the last bit on the chip, is copied over.
Okay, how is that? How is the information different from the physical extraction and what you get from just the logical extraction?
The physical will often be much more advanced. There will just be a lot more information. Now, not all of that information is usable, but there's a lot more data to be gone through.
And is it possible in some circumstances with a physical extraction for you, the forensic examiner, to be able to recover deleted files or erased files?
That is correct.
Could you just explain how that works?
Basically, when you have your phone or computer and you you drag something over to the recycle bin or you hit delete on your phone, it marks it, it changes the file header to show that that space is now usable by the device. But that doesn't mean it's actually gone though. Your phone will show it physically, you'll look at it, you'll flip through your phone, it won't show up in your picture gallery or whatever you decided to delete, but it is still on the device until it's been physically overwritten. So until new data has been allocated to that location on the chip or hard drive or whatever media source you're looking at, it's still there. Now, not all devices allow us to get that data, especially nowadays as things have gotten more secure.
Okay. Now, you stated that with a logical extraction, you're able to recover all logs, photographs, and I think you said some chats.
Some chats.
What do you mean by that?
It comes down to Cellbrite and their capabilities to parse the data. And a lot of stuff that we're seeing now, just to give an example if that's appropriate.
Sure.
There's a program called WhatsApp right now. And WhatsApp initially was not encrypted. It was easily gathered. You were easily able to look at this information. But since then, in the last couple months, or I should say in the last year or so, they are now encrypting that end-to-end. So the only way to get that information is to look at it with a physical download. And not only do you need the physical download, but you need the database from that physical download and the keychain that's in there that you can only get from a physical download in order to look at the database.
So it's not enough that you would have the actual phone based upon the type of data that you're trying to access, the type of digital program, using that data, you may or may not be able to retrieve certain chats in a logical extraction, correct?
Exactly.
All right. So have you had an opportunity to testify based on your training and experience in criminal cases?
I have not.
Okay, so this is your first time?
Correct.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you now about the work you did for Detective Sean Oliver in a case State of Florida versus Melanie Eam. Did Detective Oliver with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office contact you and ask you to perform an extraction, a logical extraction on a cellular device?
He did.
And did he provide you with that cellular device?
He did.
And approaching witness to the state's 95 in evidence. And you recall Detective Oliver provided you with this cellular device?
I do.
What did Detective Oliver ask you to do with respect to the cellular device?
To gather just the data from the device generally.
And what did that mean to you? Is that perform a logical or physical extraction?
Well, if possible, to try and get a physical, but at the time of this device and this download, there was not a process to get into that device for a physical download.
I explained to the jury what that means.
Basically, well, especially now, I'm sure you've all heard of Apple and them not letting people download their devices and things along those lines. Well, as time goes on, there are weaknesses found or exploits to be found that allow outside companies to download data. Same thing goes for this. As Android gets more, at this time, as they get more advanced, it becomes harder to download sometimes. And as the process becomes refined, or they find an exploit, or they find something that allows them to download, then it allows them to get that data. At this time, we did not have the ability to get the physical download from this.
So is it, am I correct in that it is sort of a race between you, the forensic examiner, and the programmers for the particular devices and software sort of battling one another?
Absolutely. Even more so for Android because of there's so much variance in the number of devices. So you have LG, you have Samsung, you have these knockoff, like Kyocera type devices. Everybody uses Android as a base, but they all put their own, like,
Encryption?
yeah, their own, LG used to be extremely, at this time LG was extremely vulnerable. They're not like that now, especially with Android 7.0 and above.
Okay, so at this time, what type of device was the cell phone?
It's a Samsung J7.
J7, and at the time that you were asked to conduct your work in this case, it was running an Android operating system?
Correct.
And is there a specific type of Android operating system it was running?
I'd have to look at my notes to tell you the exact.
Do you have a copy of your notes or your report in front of you?
I do have that information in front of me. I believe it was running Android 6.0. See to have it listed on my notes.
Okay. Well, let me just ask you, were you able to perform a physical extraction and exploit essentially a bit-for-bit download of the Samsung device?
I was not.
So you were only able to perform a logical extraction?
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's right here. It was 6.0.1 Android.
And at the time, was that the most advanced or one of the more advanced Android operating systems?
Not the most advanced, but enough so that I was not able to get a physical download.
So the extraction that you performed in this case was a logical extraction?
Correct.
And when you perform a logical extraction with a Cellbrite, I guess you call it an operating system or Cellbrite device, do you hook the cell phone up to the device? I mean, how does the physical extraction work?
Basically what we have is what's called UFED for PC by Cellbrite, and it gives you pretty much, you plug it in, it either identifies the device. If it's not able to identify the device, you can go in and look for it yourself. Once it's plugged in, you start the download sequence using that. And there's a number of things that you have to do in order to get into that position, changing developers' options in some cases, etc.
Okay. And what is the output of the product that is it a report that's generated? What do you get from the Cellbrite system?
The Cellbrite system creates a file. In the case of Apple's, it's a tar file. In the case of this, it can vary. But it gives you a general file, and then you use the physical analyzer to conduct analysis on it.
And with that physical analyzer, with the information it gives you, does it allow you to create reports in various formats, whether it's through a Word document or a PDF, to create reports based on the particular type of data that you're looking for?
Absolutely.
In other words, if you're looking for a particular set of call logs that took place between April 1st and April 7th, 2015, could you extract just that data and put it into a physical file?
Yes.
Does it also give you the ability to create a report, which is called the extraction summary, and information about the file system, which tells you about the user information or user data on that cell phone? It can. Okay? And when it gives you the opportunity to do that, what type of user information are you able to gather?
Most oftentimes it'll be the account email address that's associated with it,
Okay.
at least for Android.
Okay. So I'd like to approach now with what the state has pre-marked as states 123 through 126. Any objection?
No objection.
So you're offering 123 through 126?
Yes,
All right,
yes.
123 through 126 in evidence of
We're going to take a look at this. I just want you to take a look at this. Is stage 123. Do you recognize what this is? Is this the UFED reader program that you use for generating Cellbrite?
Yeah, that's the Cellbrite's proprietary reporting system.
And do you see these three items holding up, 124, 25, and 26?
I do.
Do they appear to be PDF reports generated from the UFED reader?
I do.
So I may have you step down just so that we can navigate some of the exhibits. I just want to show the jury generally as you actually stand right over here. And there's a pointer up near the witness stand. See it? Right in front, sir. Right in front. I just want to show the jury generally as you actually stand right over here. And there's a pointer up near the witness stand. See it? Right in front, sir. Right in front? Yes. Yeah. So, good. Just tell the jury essentially what do we see here, is what it is. Give us just a basic run through of what's on the screen.
Basically, these are the two downloads that were conducted on the device. You have your file system and the logical that we've already spoken.
Okay, and on the left side here, this gives the user of the UFED reader the opportunity to look through calendars, call logs, contacts, SMS messages, all those things.
Yes. That's exactly what it is. It's the navigation tree.
Okay.
So you have your extraction summaries here, what type of extractions they were. Then it has a drop-down box for analyzed data, which they consider calendars, call logs, contacts, cookies for when you're going through the internet.
Right.
Installed applications, that's sort of what Cellbrite is able to identify as being installed on the device, not necessarily everything that was installed on the device. MMS messages, which are your multimedia messages. Search items, which usually through web browsers and such. And user accounts, and that could be anything from like Facebook or whatever you have on your phone that you regularly log into. Things along those nature. Again, doesn't necessarily get everything from that.
Right.
And then your web history, which is sort of what we're going through on the web.
Okay. So from this, you were able to, let's see if we just go, to use the tools with this device. You can generate PDFs, which I have 3 PDFs that I showed you. So this program generates those PDFs.
Yep, you can further parse it down into a more specialized report for whatever you determine to be of evidentiary value. So, and that would be used right there.
This generate report, and then that would allow you to generate the report that you need by selecting certain items of data.
Exactly.
So I'm going to go ahead and have you take your seat. Actually, you don't want to take it with me, but I'll slide it up on the screen. So the first item we're going to look at is item 126. We have a document that reads extraction summary. And what information is contained in this extraction summary?
Summary, when it was conducted, what time zone it's set to, the case number as put in. The case name is what I chose to name it as, just for easy reference for me and our forensic server. The evidence number, just, that may not necessarily be the one that PDSO uses, that's the one, say, the first device that I did in this case. My name, the department, and the FTF, which is the Digital Forensics Task Force that I work for.
So you're able to, using the program generating a report that links your name, this specific device, and you have the selected device name, the brand. Does it also contain unique identifiers particular to this device, one of them being what's called an IMEI?
Yes.
What is an IMEI?
It is a specialized number. Basically, it's a serial number, the most simple way to put it, that cell phone companies use to identify devices.
And the IMEI, is that physically printed or etched on either the phone itself or the battery of every particular phone?
It wouldn't be on the battery. It's iPhones. It's a catch-22. Depends on the say you're getting it from AT&T or somebody like that. They'll laser etch the IMEI on the rear, but not everybody does that.
Okay.
Unfortunately, with Apples, you sometimes have to physically look it up before you'll be able to see that data. Androids, on the other hand, are usually behind the battery on a sticker or actually on the rear, or in the case of Samsungs, especially most recently, they'll put a sticker of the IMEI number on it.
And when you generate a report like this, you physically look and make sure that the IMEI is generated, which is right here in this case. You physically look and make sure, yes, that's the IMEI that is attached to this particular.
Yes, that's part of our quality control, is if it's available on it, we'll provide the written IMEI number that post, hookup, and download will verify that the two numbers match.
So the IMEI that's printed here, beginning with 357, the IMEI for the cell phone, the Samsung cell phone in the pink case that is in evidence.
Correct.
And I want to ask you about one more piece of information, this MSISDN number. What is that?
It's going to be the phone number associated with the device.
Okay, so this 1-561-517-2237 is the actual physical phone number.
Correct.
And I spoke to you briefly about user account information, and you said that we'll oftentimes have the email address that is established on the particular device.
Correct.
When you look at the user account information, you could just point to some of the user ID information on this phone.
Has the creation time username, which was Melanie Eam, I believe is how you pronounce it, @gmail.com, and the account name of Melanie Eam.
And do we see the same Melanie E, whether it's, I believe there's a different Mel's over to the same Melanie Eam account?
This is all during creation time of the device.
Okay.
So for Google Photos, Google Drive, Google Drive, Google Photos, Google Photos.
Melanie Eam is the user information.
Correct.
And did you ever meet Melanie Eam personally?
Never.
And is that part of your normal practice? And do you typically interview, meet the people whose phones you're analyzing?
Never.
Is that really an important factor?
Objection or no? Go rule.
No, it's basically my whole job is to gather advice, and oftentimes it's better because I'm separated from that portion. So,
Looking now at what, I'm going to ask you what this is. It's part of the extraction report, and this is going to be states 124. Just generally, what is this?
just a call log.
And a call log is what?
Basically, whenever you make a phone call from your device, either missed or gathered, it will log that information.
Okay. And the call log gives you information as to the type of call, in other words, whether it was missed, or it was ongoing, or it was sent.
Absolutely.
And it will let you know either who the call is to or from.
It will, as long as they're in the actual the database in the phone. So if it's a random number, you get one of these weird phone calls they don't recognize, it'll show the phone number, but it's not going to show you who it belongs to.
So in this case, we have names attached to some of the numbers and some, is this particular name? No, or does that just mean that there was no?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I'm not sure if that's in the phone book written that way, or if that's because it doesn't know the person who's associated with it.
All right, and what about the timestamp?
The timestamps are going to be during initial download UTC -0, which is Greenwich Mean Time. However, Cellbrite has the functionality to put it in the time zone that it actually occurred, which would at the time be -5 hours.
So that UFED reader allows you to essentially take what starts off in universal time and put it into either Eastern Daylight, Eastern Standard, or whatever time zone.
Yeah, exactly.
So the time that we see on this timestamp, the actual Eastern Daylight or Eastern Standard, it would be the Eastern time zone.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So 3:39 a.m. would be 3:39 a.m.
Correct.
in Palm Beach County.
If you went back 5 hours, it would not show UTC 0, and it would be -5 hours from that time. So what it's displaying is the -5 hours.
Next is the duration. What is the duration of?
How long did the phone call actually took place? In this case, obviously, it looks like that. When it says missed, it didn't actually connect, so it's 0.
So based on the extraction, the logical extraction of the call log, a series of calls starting from 12:39 a.m., so just after midnight on November the 17th, 2016, are there a series of phone calls that are coming into this device but that are missed and never answered?
That's what it appears to me.
Okay, and this is not, you weren't next to the phone when this was happening, correct?
Correct.
This is based on your analysis of the data that you extracted from the device.
Purely looking at this data, that would be my thought process as well.
Okay, so none of these calls are answered because there's nothing in the duration time, correct?
Correct.
So we move back to, let's take, for example, there's an ongoing phone call that takes place the day before at November the 16th, 2016 at 5:11 p.m. We have a duration of 3 minutes and 15 seconds.
That's what it appears like.
Would it appear to you, based on your training experience, that the phone itself, the phone was in use for just over 3 minutes on that day at a time?
That's what it would be. That would be my opinion, yes.
Okay. And then just for another example, that it was in use on November the 16th, 2016 at 5:14 for a time of 1 minute and 36 seconds.
Correct, yes.
Now finally, looking at stage 125, we have what's called a timeline. And what does the timeline give us with respect to the download of the phone?
Timelines are actually my favorite method to look at a device for the first time because it gives you a lot of information exactly as it appeared when it was happening on the device. So you'll get a date, and it parses out the dates into sections, and basically everything that happened that the device can log and that Cellbrite can see, it will show. So you have your call log, incoming, calendar SMS. So if they had something in the calendar set for that day to go off, it'll show you that calendar notification.
Okay.
SMS being just a standard text message. Call logs, outgoing, searched items, all this information. It's got web history, everything along those lines as well, usually.
And so now if there's outgoing phone calls, SMS or MMS messages that are happening, again, would your opinion be that, without looking at the person actually using the phone was at least in use at the different times on the timeline?
That is correct.
And does it appear from looking at this, and just looking at the dates and times, the phone was actively being used, at least on page 1 of November the 15th through November the 16th?
It would appear so, yes.
And looking at the second page of this document, it would appear that essentially around that same time, in the early morning hours of November the 17th, that the phone is no longer being used, and we're just showing missed phone calls that were also on the call log.
That is correct. The timeline is basically like a big system-wide call log, basically.
Okay, good to see now, thank you. You told us about 2 types of messages within the phone itself that are essentially not application-related or application-based, MMS and SMS.
Yes.
Just if you could explain to the jury the difference between MMS and SMS?
Your SMS is basically like your standard text message you send to a friend or something, just general text is all it is. The MMS delineation comes from when you send like a picture or something along those lines.
And you told us that those services are different than or application-based messaging services. I think you use a WhatsApp application.
Correct. They're actually handled by the cellular company. It's being transmitted via the cellular device, not over the internet.
Now, the logical extraction, are you able to extract all chats from all various different application-based or other software-based programs?
Not everything, no.
And why is that?
Honestly, Cellbrite would have to answer that question. I'm not sure why they had, there's certain things that they can or can't do, and I wouldn't even want to go into why that wouldn't be the case, because I don't have that expertise when it comes to that.
But it's simply, I mean, you use the device that Cellbrite gives you, and it's your experience, again, based on your training experience, that the Cellbrite device simply does not have the capability or not equipped with the capability to extract all chats that are either computer-based or application-based.
That is correct.
In this case, with your logical extraction, were you able to obtain a chat that occurred on an application-based service called League of Legends?
I did not.
Okay, and do you have an opinion or any experience with trying to obtain those chats from League of Legends and the inability to do so?
Honestly, no. I mean, I have.
Sure. He said he does not have an expertise, he should not answer.
You could rephrase the question.
Do you have an opinion based on your expertise as to why that's sometimes not possible?
Objection.
Honestly, I don't know why they would not have that capability. It comes down to Cellbrite and more than likely dollars and cents as to what is the most usable data to get. And in the hundreds of devices that I've done in the last 2.5 years, I've never seen that data provided. So,
Are there potentially an unlimited number of application-based texting or messaging services that a user could install on their phone and then use to message with a peer?
Objection.
yes, there are a number of applications capable of doing that.
And does every application use the same encryption, the same software as another application?
No, it's usually proprietary.
So are there, you said you broke it down to dollars and cents, are there just simply barriers that Cellbrite either is unwilling to cross or unable to cross in order to access every different type of web-based app messaging service?
Objection, legal and relevant.
Again, going back to it, it may not even necessarily be dollars and cents. It could be just that there are more people using X, Y, Z, and they want to focus their manpower and their time and their resources to unlock those situations. So they may view something that is not, that has anything to do with that, or what they view as not being as relevant to not unlocking those things.
Objection, move to strike everything after what may be.
Let's move on.
So, in the extraction process, do you alter or change any of the data that's actually on the physical phone?
I do not.
Do you add anything that wasn't there?
If possible, no.
Do you take anything away that's on the phone?
Yes, it makes copies of the data, yes.
Let me rephrase. Making copies of the data, but does it change, alter, edit?
It could change access times.
Okay. But would it change the content of any web-based chats?
No, sir.
And simply because something is not visible on your logical extraction, does that necessarily mean that it wasn't on the physical device itself?
No, not at all.
I have no further questions.
Cross-examination.
No question.
You may step down, thank you. Stay ready to call sex witness.
Yes, at this time, say we call Guy Hand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do, so help me God.
Good morning, Mr. Hand. If you would please introduce yourself to the jurors and spell your last name for the record.
My name is Guy William Hand, H-A-N-D for easy.
And Mr. Hand, how old are you?
I'll be 60 this Friday.
And where do you live?
In Loxahatchee, Florida.
And who do you live with?
Right now, I'm living with Nicola.
Okay, and is that, okay, Nicola Berry. And how long are you in a relationship with Nicola Berry?
We were talking about it last night, I think close to 5 years.
So that's how long you and Miss Berry have been together?
Yes.
How long have you lived with Miss Berry approximately at that house in Loxahatchee?
Maybe 2 years.
Okay. And in relation to that, is that the address on Glasgow Drive?
Yes.
And is that in Palm Beach County, Florida?
Yes, it is.
In addition to living with her at that home, was there another home that you lived with Miss Berry at as well?
Yeah, I stayed off and on with her in Wellington.
In relation to Miss Berry, 2 years ago when you moved in with Miss Berry, did her son also live with her?
Yes.
And what was her son's name?
James
James Berry.
Barry, yes.
Did, at the time, was he living full-time with his mother, with Miss Berry?
Yes.
What, in relation to Mr. James Berry, did you have any conflict or tension with Mr. Berry?
No.
Did you ever get in an argument with him?
No, I did not.
Did you know an individual named Melanie Eam?
Yes.
And at the time that you knew her, did you know her as James Berry's girlfriend?
Yes.
Would, being James's girlfriend, would she come over to the house frequently?
Yes, she would.
Would she sometimes stay the night at the home?
Yes.
Would that happen sometimes more than once a week?
Yes.
Would it happen frequently?
Oh, yes.
In addition to staying at the home, when she was staying, did she have access to the home, such as the patio, kitchen, living area, the general area?
Full access.
When she would stay, would she stay in, when she would stay the night, would she stay in the room belonging to James?
Yes.
In addition, you said full access to the home. Did that include, did you ever utilize the kitchen?
Yes.
And that includes baking or making food within the kitchen?
Yes.
Did she also, in the time, many times that she's been there, did you see her eat in the kitchen, do all of the normal things that people do?
Objection, lead in.
Overruled.
Yes.
Now, I want to ask you about November 16th, the evening before James' death. That night, do you remember what you did for dinner, who you had dinner with?
Yes.
What did you do that evening?
Come home from work, took a shower. I was tired, I laid down. I woke up about between 8 and 8:15, somewhere in there.
And did you and, once it was about done, did you and Nicola have dinner together, have the roast?
Yes.
And in relation to the roast, was it one that she baked in the oven and required cutting?
Yes, it was.
And who was the person who would cut the roast? And I forgot to ask you what you do for a living. What do you currently do for a living?
Right now, I'm welding.
And how long have you been welding approximately?
Since I was 17.
And in addition to welding, did you also have some kind of period where you also were a butcher?
Yes, I got tired of iron work.
And then have you switched back to welding just based on
The money situations, yes.
in relation to your experience as a butcher, so did you offer to cut the roast for this for
I
yourself?
always do. She cuts herself.
And at that point, did you just have an ordinary dinner?
Yes.
Nothing, at that point, was there anything unusual about your evening?
Before I cut the roasts, I sat in the recliner and I had the shades open and I seen a car pull up in the driveway,
And when
turn
you,
around and leave.
and when you're in, you said you're sitting in the recliner, is that in the living room closest to the main road in Glasgow, right?
Yes.
And the car that you saw pull in and pull out, did you believe you recognized that car?
Yes.
And who did you recognize that car to belong to?
Melanie.
And is that Melanie Eam?
Yes.
And I noticed you looked in her direction and pointed at her with your head. Did you see the scene in the courtroom?
Go ahead, excuse me.
Oh, sorry, okay, I stepped away from the mic, I apologize. Do you see Miss Eam in the courtroom?
Yes, I do.
Could you please identify her by where she's located, what she's wearing?
She looks like she's wearing a white shirt and she's sitting right there.
Please let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant. When you saw Miss Eam's car pull in and pull out, was it common for her to stop by and see James?
Yes, she can come over all the time.
Was it also common for, if, I'll go into what anyone said, was it common for if Jeff was over that Miss Eam would leave?
Correct.
Now, in relation, and I forgot to ask, did you also know an individual named Jeff Jarzabikowski?
Do I know him?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And how do you know him?
Through James.
Was he one of James's friends?
Oh, yes.
Would he sometimes also come over and visit with James?
Yes.
Did James like to play video games?
Oh, my God, yes.
Would he often play them on his computer?
Yes.
When Jeff would come over, is that one of the things that you would see them do together?
That they did come over and they would play computer games, yes.
Now, that evening, after you had dinner and you saw the vehicle, did you just go back to, was it just a normal dinner, clean out the dishes, that type of thing?
Yes, more or less. Watch the little TV and then go to bed.
Now, what, in regards to the roast that night, do you remember what knife you used to cut the roast?
Yes.
And what did it look like? What was it?
It was a Dexter,
Is that just a brand?
a white handle, a 13-inch blade, an inch and a half wide.
And is that the one used to cut the roast that night?
Yes.
What did you do after you were finished eating dinner and cleaning the dishes? What did you do? Did you wash the knife?
I always wash the knife after I cut something with it and wipe it down and put it back in the second drawer by the stove, between the stove and the oven.
And is that one of the common areas that you have seen Melanie in that kitchen near those drawers?
Yeah, because the stove is right there.
And at that time you said you and watched some TV. You said we. Was that you and Nicola?
Yes.
Were some point that evening did you see Jeff over hanging out with James?
Yes, I did.
And from what you saw was the same type of computer games you discussed usually happen? comes over.
Yes, I don't play the computer games, but yeah, they get kind of loud in there.
And at that point, when you go, you said you watched some television before you went to bed. At some point that day, do you remember taking any medication?
Yes,
And what did you take and when did you take it?
I took a half of a Valium before I went to bed.
Now, do you remember approximately what time you went to bed?
11-ish, I guess, somewhere around there.
Now, when you go to bed, do you sleep in the same room as Nicola?
Yes,
In direction of the home and the setup, the layout of the home, is that the bedroom across from where James Berry's bedroom is?
not straight across. His bedroom is at the end of the hall. If you go in, Nicola's bedroom is on the right side.
And is Nicola's bedroom the master bedroom that's a little bit bigger?
Yes.
So that in relation to, may I approach you?
Yes.
I'm approaching you with argument and then it is state 14. If you could look at this, does this kind of help you, try to show this, explain if this is James' bedroom where yours and Nicola's bedroom would be? Is it this area right here?
Yes, this is another bedroom here.
Okay. But that's not yours and
No,
Nicola's
it's
bedroom?
just a spare bedroom.
So is this where the bedroom would be located?
Yes. And the door is right here.
We'll show some photographs in a moment. But in relation to yours and Nicola's bedroom, over here, where is the door in this area?
Yes.
And this is the door to where James' bedroom
Yes, it's right at the end of the hall. You don't have to turn left or right, it's right at the end of the hallway.
is. Now, when you go to bed, does Nicola also go to bed around the same time?
Yes.
What do you wear to bed?
Underwear, boxers?
Do you wear a top or just boxers?
No, I don't like a top, I don't like anything by my throat.
So, and what does Nicola wear? Does she wear pajamas? Do you remember what she
Yeah,
wears?
she usually wears pajamas, a long top, or sometimes a skirt bottom, sometimes a little stretchy bottoms.
Do you remember what she wore to bed that night?
No, I don't know.
Now, at some point in middle, do you go to sleep? You said around 11. Do you fall asleep?
I usually do pretty quick, I can fall asleep quick.
Now, at that point in time, is there a point in the middle of your sleep where you are woken by something or something happens?
Yes.
What happens?
I heard someone screaming or something like that, or dial 911, something, it was startled.
And at that point, is it loud enough that you wake up?
Oh, yes.
At that point in time, are you still in bed when you hear the noise?
Yes.
Is Nicola still in bed at the time that you're hearing this noise?
Yes.
What do you do once you hear the noise?
Jump out of bed,
And then what do you do?
put some pants on, shorts. Like basketball shorts are kind of stretchy.
And where do you see Nicola also get out of bed?
I sleep closer to the door, so she sleeps on the other side. She gets out of bed. I'm first, and then she's like behind me.
But in the course of you getting out of bed, I know that you said you were closest to the door.
Right.
Do you move and go towards the door?
Yes.
Do you, when you're moving towards the door, are you able to see if Nicola stays in bed or if she also gets up?
She gets up.
Where do you see her also head to the door?
Yes, she's right behind me.
And is that the hallway that is that same hallway that James's room is on?
Yes.
What do you do once you get up and you head towards the door? What happens next?
I'm not really sure if Jeff opened our door. We don't lock the doors and stuff, so I'm not sure if he opened it or I opened it. I might have opened it and then turned to my right, but the boys are right there.
And when you turn to your right, are you able to see or hear if Nicola's behind you? Or are you just
I'm
focusing?
kind of shocked at what I see.
And what do you see?
I see Jeff. He's screaming, dial 911 or help or something. And I see James sitting on the floor kind of up against the bed.
And you say sitting, is he in a proper seated
You know,
position?
kind of slumped.
And is the bed in his room?
Yes.
As you see this, do you notice anything about James at that point?
I noticed he was bloody, and I think I recall Jeff trying to give him CPR or mouth-to-mouth or something.
But from what you could see about James's condition and Jeff's reactions, did you go to that room as well?
Oh, yes. I went right in.
And when you went right in, were you able to get a closer look at James?
Yes, I did.
And what did you see about James?
Blood everywhere, all over his chest.
And then what else, what did you do at that point?
I thought Jeff had called 911, but he didn't. Nicola called 911, and I told Jeff, let's put James on the bed. The CPR isn't going to work. He was slumped on the floor and stuff. So Jeff helped me pick him up. I had the head end, he had the tail end, and we laid him on the bed. I heard the dispatcher come on, give him chest compressions, hold the wound, kind of.
As you're in the room, do you immediately start helping Jeff to try to provide aid?
Oh, yes.
And you said that Nicola is on the phone with 911.
Yeah, she's panicked.
And when she's panicked and on the phone with Nicola, when Nicola's on the phone with 911, are you getting additional directions as to how to try to...
Yeah, she had it on speakerphone, so the dispatch woman was telling me, do compressions, hold the wound.
And did you see any wounds on James?
Oh, yes.
And what did you see?
Right here by his collarbone, a cut, maybe 2 inches wide.
And did it
Blood was just pouring, so I didn't have anything. I put my hand over it. I was giving him compressions, just like the lady was telling me on dispatch.
And at that point, is there a point where Jeff also tries to help with the compressions? Do you know?
I don't remember Jeff doing the compressions with me.
Okay, so at that point, once you get in the room, you kind of take over and help with.
Yes. Done a lot of CPR courses in my life.
And is that in regards to when you were a welder because of the dangerous job that they do?
With the company that I work for, they required us to certify every year the CPR, all the way from babies, which I didn't understand that one, but all different kinds of things, every year.
Besides the CPR classes that you would do through your work, were you ever a paramedic or get any extensive medical training?
No.
So are you doing what you remembered from those classes at work as best you can?
Yes, we have to do them on dolls and different things, or our buddies, they'd act like they're like.
Now, in relation to, as this is going on, does Nicholas stay on the phone with 911?
Yes.
And can you hear that when you're doing these compressions?
Yes.
Now, I want to ask you about James. As you're doing these compressions and as you move him from that slouch position to the bed, are you able to communicate with him?
No, I got his pulse when we first moved him up there and stuff, and he had a pulse. But the blood was just pumping out, and I was trying to hold the blood and stuff. I I probably should ask for a rag or something, but I was just using my hand.
And if, when you were doing that, did you see at any point that James' condition was able to gain conscious, stay conscious for you?
No, when I got to the room, when Jeff helped me pick him up on the bed, he was unconscious.
While you were doing chest compressions and trying to hold him, did his condition get any better?
No.
Did it get worse?
Yes.
What happened?
I was doing chest compressions, and I give him one breath of air. I kind of lifted his neck up and took his jaw where the air would go in, and I gave him one puff of air, and it just bubbled out of his chest at that time.
Now, at this point, so even though it wasn't helping you, you continued to try to help James?
Yes.
Was there a point where you could see that James, that you lost him?
I watched the light come out of his eyes.
Now, at this point in time, when you're in the room, are you still waiting for an 911 fire rescue to get there?
I'm yelling, I need help. I'm losing, I need help. Where's 911? I didn't know that they weren't allowed into a murder scene or whatever, crime scene. I didn't know they weren't allowed.
For you, did it seem like it took a long time for the firefighters to get there?
Forever.
And was there a point before the fire rescue got there that the police got there? That the deputies came and helped? Do you remember?
No, nobody helped me. I didn't see anybody.
But did there come a point when police responded, where police came into the
Yes.
room? And when police responded, was there a point where police and fire rescue took over trying to care or assess for James?
They kicked us out of the house, yes.
And when that happened, at that point, had you already seen James lose his life? Had you already seen? Now, when you're removed from the house, it's November, and we're in South Florida, but November, that night, was it pretty cold?
It was our first cold front, yes, it was chilly.
And are you still in those shorts, sleeve skirt?
Yeah, barefooted, no shirt, nothing.
And you say, and I'll ask you about the room right now, so you said you're barefooted outside and you go outside. Jeff and Nicola also go outside.
Yes,
Do you see them outside?
we all go outside.
Now, in the room, when you're in the room caring for James, is there a point where you see a knife?
Yes.
Where do you see the knife and what do you see?
It was at the end of the bed, and I noticed something blue across the right handle. Come to find out, it was a cord that plugs into the computers.
But what did you notice about you said it was white. What did you notice about the knife?
It was mine.
The same one that you had used the night before?
Yes.
What did you notice about how did the knife look?
Completely black.
Let's take a break. We'll take a couple-minute break. We're going to send you into the jury room, and we'll send everyone in. All right, Councilman, you see it. I'm going to give Neil instructions to check on. I think it's Mr. Christensen? Mr. Christensen. I'll have Neil check on it, make sure that he's okay to proceed. We'll pause, take a recess until we evaluate the situation.